Berachos Daf Lamed. If you're going to watch the Super Bowl today, please remember to insert a little bit of Torah, maybe at halftime, an 8-minute daf. And if you do, don't forget to send some pictures. The Gemara tells us that if you're going on the way, you have to say Tefillas HaDerech. You have to wait until you come out of the city, but do not say Tefillas HaDerech once you pass 8,000 amas, which is approximately 16,000 feet. Rav Sheshes holds that when you say Tefillas HaDerech, you have to stand still. Rav Chizda says you could be moving. Yet when they went together, Rav Sheshes respected Rav Chizda and he stood. He didn't want to do bad in a place of good. And in fact, Allah is it's preferable to be in a standing position when you say Tefillas HaDerech. If you're riding on a donkey, there's machlokes whether you get off the donkey, you give the donkey to somebody else. Rebbe says you don't because that's going to take away your concentration. You're going to be thinking about your donkey. A person who's blind or doesn't have a compass, he should think about Kodesh HaKadoshim in his heart. The point is, you always have to be facing the Kapairis, which is in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So if you're in Chutz La'aretz, you face Eretz Yisrael, which is eventually going to get you the Kodesh HaKadoshim. If you're in Eretz Yisrael, you face Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim, you face the Beis Hamikdash, you face Kodesh HaKadoshim. If you're in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, you face the Kapairis. If you're behind the Kapairis, you turn around and face everybody else, you face the Kapairis. If you're in north, you face south. You're always facing the Kapairis. There's a machlokes. What do you do if you have an emergency situation and you won't be able to daven Shmoneh Esrei b'kavana? The father of Shmuel used to daven Shmoneh Esrei extremely early. According to Rashi, even before Alis HaShachar. Tosfos says that doesn't make sense because there's no such shir that's in the middle of the night. It has to be slightly after Alis HaShachar. Reb Shimon Elazar is mechulik, and he says first you say Kriya Shema, then you say Shmoneh Esrei. It's better to say Shmoneh Esrei sitting down, but it's right after Shema than to say Shmoneh Esrei standing up. According to Abu Shmuel, it's better to say Shmoneh Esrei standing b'kavana. Merema and Razutra, before they said a shir, they would grab a minyan, even though it was really early, they would grab a minyan and daven. And once they gave the shir and the sun came up, it was Netzachama, then the Talmidim would sneak out one by one to daven Shmoneh Esrei. Rav Ashi, very interesting. He would give his maturgaman, his announcer, he would give him a lot of material to say over, and when he was saying over that material, he, in a sitting position, would say Shema and Shmoneh Esrei. Why didn't he get up and go out and say Shmoneh Esrei? Says Rashi, an amazing thing. He didn't want to be that person to cause the whole base measure, she's the Rosh Shiva, to stand up in his honor. That would be too much of a tircha for everybody. And he didn't want to daven really early like Shmuel's father, because he never saw his rabbeim do it. He didn't want to bring a minyan because he felt that was a tircha. Maybe it would push off the start time of the shir. Says the Mishnah, Chachamim say that you daven musaf even be yechidus without a tzibur. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says no, musaf is only b'tzibur. Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah that musaf, if you have a tzibur, then the shliach tzibur is moitzi you. If you don't have a tzibur, then even a yachid is mechuyev to daven musaf, and that in fact is how Rav and Shmuel paskin. And Rav Ami and Rav Asi passing like Chachamim, they say Musaf even B'chidus. We had them in the beginning of the Masechta, that they used to daven in the exact same place by the pillars where they would learn Torah. In other words, they would daven B'chidus, Shachris, and Musaf. Rabbi Yochanan testified that he saw Rabbi Yanai davening back-to-back Shmoneh Esreis. The Gemara says it's impossible to say that he didn't have kavanah. That's why he repeated Shmoneh Esrei, because look who testified. It's Rabbi Yochanan. He knows what he's saying. He told us the story in order to bring out a point that you daven musaf even b'yechidus. The Gemara tells us a similar story. The Reb Chia Bar Abba was davening Shmoneh Esrei and then repeated it. It can't be because he didn't have kavanah, because Rabbi Lezer says that before you daven Shmoneh Esrei, you have to assess your situation, evaluate whether you could at least have kavanah in one bracha, according to Tosfos, and therefore it's impossible that Reb Chia Bar Abba didn't have kavanah. Therefore, it must be that he repeated Shmoneh Esrei because it was Rosh Chodesh and he forgot to say Yalav Yavai. If one forgets to say Yalav Yavai in Shachris or Musaf, he forgets complete Musaf. Instead of Musaf, he says At Chayin on a weekday Shmoneh Esrei. If he's in a tzibur, he doesn't repeat Shmoneh Esrei because he could be yotze from the shliach tzibur, and he himself is going to repeat Yalav Yavai later on at Mincha. But if he's davening b'chidus, he should repeat Shmoneh Esrei. If a person forgets Yalav Yavai by Ma'ariv, Rav Ashi says you never repeat Ma'ariv with Yalav Yavai. Why? Because Rosh Chodesh is mekudesh in the daytime, not at night. So there's not enough kedusha in order for us to make him repeat Yalav Yavai. However, Ameimar says that's only in a 2-day Rosh Chodesh where you could say Yalav Yavai in the second night of Rosh Chodesh. But in a 1-day Rosh Chodesh, you do repeat Shmoneh Esrei. If a person must repeat Shmoneh Esrei because he forgot Yalav Yavai, or he's davening Musaf immediately after Shachris, he must wait enough time for him to walk Dalet Ames, I would say that's approximately 2 to 3 seconds. And with that we finish the 4th perek of Tfilas HaShachar, and now we begin the 5th perek, Ein Oimdim. The Mishnah tells us that when you daven Shemona Esrei, it has to be with complete respect and awe of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You can't be laughing, giggling. It has to be b'koived roish. The Hasidim Rishonim would contemplate and meditate about their davening for 1 full hour before they daven. If even a king comes over to you to speak to you while you're davening Shemona Esrei, you're not allowed to answer him. If a snake wraps himself around your foot, and we're going to discuss what kind of snake, you don't move. The Gemara says, you don't learn from Chana, that it says by her, V'hi maras nefesh, she had a bitter heart. Chana is different. She couldn't have children. You don't learn from David HaMelech. It says, V'ani broiv chazdecha v'bisecha, eshtacha v'elhecha kol shecha b'yira secha, b'yira, meaning with fear. David HaMelech is different. We know that he worked extremely hard on himself to be fearful of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Perhaps we can learn from the pasuk B'hadras Kodesh. Sometimes the hey and a ches can be interchangeable, so it will be B'cherdas Kodesh. You should have fear of the Kodesh. Says Amar, no, we could just read it simply. Hadras Kodesh, meaning you should wear beautiful clothing, glory. You should wear nice clothing when you daven. So where do we learn this concept that you have to be with Koived Roish? It says in the pasuk, Ivdu es Hashem b'yira. You should serve Hashem with fear. The continuation of the pasuk is V'gilu b'ra'ada. You should be joyful, but with trepidation. What does that mean? That anytime you are joyful and happy, on the other hand, you should have that fear. The Gemara tells us, the Rabbi asked Abaya, why are you so joyful? It says in the pasuk, Gilu b'ra'ada. You have to be fearful. He said, don't worry about it. I'm wearing tefillin. If I'm wearing tefillin, that will keep me in check. Similar story. Reb Zera said to Reb Yirmiyah, B'chol etzev yeh moiser. I'm a Litvak, so I could allow myself to say this. This is probably the Litvak's most favorite pasuk. To be sad, you get sachar for being sad. At least that's what the Hasidim would say about the Litvaks. Akoponim, you see from the pasuk, you should be fearful of Hashem. Don't run around laughing and being joyful. Says Reb Zera, I'm wearing tefillin. It's okay. That's a sign for me to keep me in check. Have a wonderful day.